Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Shiru Mwangi, and I'm so excited to be here today talking about this wonderful family and community. It has been a journey, just walking this journey together with all of you, the love, the safety of the space, being able to grow together, being able to grow each other, being able to lift each other up and seeing each other through a lot of thicks and thins. Yeah, so I met Dr. Mogire at I'd actually gone for like a pre-employment medical examination, and we connected. We really spoke a lot, and he shared some of the work he was doing with House of Mastery. And I was so excited to hear about what it is that he was doing. I joined his group on Facebook. I joined another group on WhatsApp. But what is interesting is you can actually belong to a community, and so much happens and passes you by when you're within that community, which is what happened to me. So even by the time, like James was talking about, when they had the first classes and experiences, I had been in that group, and I'm sure it had been shared in that group, but I had not seen it. I had not seen it. So you can actually belong to spaces where there's so much important information that is happening, but for whatever reason, it just passes and whizzes by. Sometimes you'll see the notification and you'll plan to go back to it and reconnect, and then lives, and you're on to the next thing, and before you know it, you're on to another year and another month and another week and another day. So eventually I connected with one of the classes, and it was really absolutely life-changing. I remember part of what we learned at that time was about the beginning of every year and the nobility that we all carry at every beginning of a season to try and better ourselves. However, a big part and a huge part of people's failures of New Year's resolution is because sometimes the nobility that you carry doesn't quite match with the energy of the season. You've just come out of a lazy season. You've just come out of there's that famous week between Christmas and New Year when nobody knows which day it is, and nobody knows what they're supposed to do. So really that is the energy that you carry into a January month that supposedly has 46 days, where you got your salary in mid-December and really you are only on survival mode. So just learning sometimes how you can have the willingness but not the ability, or the ability and not the willingness, or be in a season that is really not supported by the environment, and just really how to bring everything together to be able to balance it for you to be able to make your baby steps in terms of what it is that you're doing. So the other thing that I have learned during this time when I have been in this couple of classes and experiences is how to lose beliefs that don't serve you. Sometimes it's so easy to say simple statements like, that's just me, that's who I am. Like, and there are all these memes that support, like, be yourself, the world will adjust. The world will adjust not. So just learning how to carry beliefs that actually serve you. For instance, for me, I always carried this belief of, I'm not a morning person. I really am not a morning person. And so when you talk to me, I mean, obviously you have to report to work at a particular time, but I'd be on blah mode, and everything everyone was telling me was just blah, 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 until maybe midday. And by midday, half the day is already gone. By afternoon, you've eaten your ugali at the kibanda, and the day is really wound up already. So you autopilot straight from one day into another month, into another year, into another. And then you're progressively moving from a time when you thought, I'm too young and there's time, And then you wake up one day and I'm too old and there's no time. And somehow in between that, you're like, where was the in between? When was the right time? When was it all supposed to happen? But then again, you come to this realization that really, it's really not about that. It's really about just being alive and just knowing that the time is now. Because really, at the end of the day, anything that really ever happens only happens in the now. You may plan and unplan and do everything, but at the end of the day, the action only happens in the now. And for as long as you have and hold the now, then really there's nothing that you can't quite really be able to achieve. So all this realization, of course, part of what we've really been able to learn is heightened awareness of what is happening around you, awareness of relationships, awareness of what you're responsible for, awareness of where you're at, why you're where you're at. So again, even in terms of relationships. So for me, I can talk about relationships because I have found myself in a very, very, very long season of caregiving. Like I've transitioned from caring for siblings who've been unwell and caring for nieces who've been unwell and caring for nieces and nephews who've been struggling. Like every single person who has been struggling somehow in my family has ended up in my hands, in my care, in my house. And so I've found myself in a long, long season. Maybe partly because of also the beliefs that you hold. I remember I always used to very proudly share with my friends and tell them, I may lose touch with my friends when they are in their good seasons, but anytime someone is struggling, anytime someone is going through a hard season, I will always connect and be there for that friend. It's grace. I can say probably it's grace that God has extended me, but with the awareness also comes the knowledge that sometimes your need for significance, your need for contribution will have you in that space where you're always just pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. And at the end of the day, you can only pour out so much. At the end of the day, you yourself will need some replenishment. And so having that awareness and being able to know that so that you can be able to sustain this wonderful tree that God has built and the grace He has impacted inside you so that you can be able to nourish it, to be able to give shade to itself and also to others for a much, much longer time. So I'm glad for the awareness that helps one understand why you're where you are, why you're wired the way you are, why you do the things you do, why it's not by coincidence that you are always the person that everyone comes to when they have a problem or something like that, but then how to be able to do that in a much better way and a much more sustainable way. So yeah, let me stop that. I think my learnings have been so much. I could talk and continue talking, but let me hold it there for now. I'm really looking forward to returning. I'm looking forward to being able to be in a space where I can also have my needs fulfilled as well, in not just a haphazard way, but in a very legitimate and intentional way. I'm excited about the new season. I'm excited about this new class. I'm excited about doing it with all of you lovely souls, and I look forward to it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shiru, for sharing your story with us. What would you tell someone that is the old Shiru, the one that doesn't wake up early, the one that will be waiting all the time and the time is just passing? What would you tell that person?
What I'd like to tell that person is that, and really even to just take it further, I've had a lot of you sit on this seat and talk about recycled goals. I was actually one of those people who really never even quite got down to writing any goals, so I never had any recycled goals. So you can really be in a space of such serious autopilot that even when people are talking about goals, You imagine you actually wrote them and you actually did not write them. So the level of autopilotness can really be a very dangerous place. I know we are in a technological space where we are now having cars that drive themselves and planes that drive themselves, but it's really a very dangerous place to find yourself, because a lot of times you'll end up in seasons where you don't know how you got here. You really just don't know how you got here. So what I would advise anyone who is in that space is find a space, find a community where first and foremost you can heighten your awareness. Because until you're aware of where you truly are, you have no business wondering about where you're going.